What do you think of the digs?
This is really cool.
Ben designed
really
all
impressive.
of it.
I don't believe that for a second. Ben showed up one day and was like, all right, where do I sit?
Hey, welcome to another episode of Haymaker Presents. It's our long-form interview series. I hope you've been enjoying all these interviews. I hope you're sharing them with your friends. Quit ball hogging all the goodness. And thanks for commenting and sharing on social media too. Now, on today's episode, it's one of our all-time favorites. He finished second in the white guy bracket. Like, who beat him? I don't know. You'd have to take a guess on who that was that could beat Travis Frederick in a white guy bracket. One of our all-time favorites, one of the greatest Dallas Cowboys ever. And on today's episode, you're going to find out the question that you've always wondered, the one that he's never answered. He's always been too scared to answer it. How many beers could Travis Frederick consume in one sitting? Well, he answers it right now.
When doing an interview show, is it normal to start with the two hosts talking to one another and not even acknowledging the guest, or what's the best way to do that?
I think it's abnormal, but I like it. Thinking outside the box.
Did you see who's over there?
Look at that guy. Look at him. That guy right there, Travis Frederick,
Yep.
came in second place in our white guy bracket.
What an honor.
It really is. Probably my largest honor.
What an honor. That's huge.
Who won?
Dirk.
Oh, so basically as we launch Haymaker, we get the two guys that are tops in the white guy bracket to join us?
I think we need to know who is 3 and 4, and that's should be expected next.
Okay, so coming up next on Haymaker, Bill Murray. Was he in the
I think he was in it.
Okay.
Sounds great to me.
It's
I
so
look forward
awesome.
to the content.
It's so awesome that you're here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
What do you think of the digs?
This is really cool.
Ben designed
really
all
impressive.
of it.
I don't believe that for a second. Ben showed up one day and was like, all right, where do I sit?
To have you here in town, you came in for one day.
Yeah.
You came in here for Rollertown. We've never really talked to you about this on air, but you're one of our investors in Rollertown, and we're grateful for that. So let's just dive in. Like, how is it that we were able to get you to partner with us on a business? Because you're a very savvy, business savvy, smart guy.
Yeah.
How in the world did you partner with a couple idiots like us?
Great question. The answer is that Jonathan is running the show. No, I think I've told this story once or twice before, but investments are difficult, especially these types of investments. How you go and do that. But I think that there are some really important things when you start to judge those. And number one, in my opinion, is the founding team. What have they done in the past? What's their history? What skills do they have? What soft skills do they have? How are they going to do that? What's their motivation level? Can they make good decisions? Can they pivot? There's all of those business things inside of there. But then beyond that, it's about branding for a lot of things. And that branding is so much more beyond just the name and the images and all of those things. It's about creating a real full picture around that brand. And I think that you guys have a really unique convergence of brand and marketing that comes together with obviously what you guys have done here in the area, and the things that Jonathan has done in his past, and all of the rest of the experience that comes together. I think that there's a lot there. And so unless you're in some sort of secret underground startup, not you specifically, but unless the investment is something you don't want people to know about, but in this case, it's goods, and it's something that needs to get out to the consumer. Branding is almost as important as the rest of it, and being able to market that, because to be able to turn that early part of the business into profitability, you always have to count on being able to sell something or being able to bring users in. And that's the hardest part. And it's way easier to put it in a spreadsheet and say, these are, this is the growth that we expect. Anybody can put it into a spreadsheet and make it look good. We can model it off other people. But you need some of those intangibles to be able to take the brand over the edge and actually make it something that's unique, something that's relatable on top of that, and that people will be interested in. And I think that the story that you all had and the North Star that you all talk about was really intriguing. And quite frankly, Tommy's a great brewer, but I didn't care what the beer actually tasted like at that point when we were talking about this. In fact, there was no beer at that point. But what was important to me was one, that super high level of business acumen that the business team brings, but being able to bring that marketing skill and the branding on top of it. And you guys are such great community builders. We've talked about my business and other businesses, and we've leaned on you just trying to get experience in how to build communities and how to build groups of people. You all are so relatable. It just made a lot of sense to me to bring all that together.
I want to throw something out there. I really like this. So just to be transparent to you, the sweet viewer, when you do shows, you have a plan, right? You have like, hey, we're going to go this direction, this direction, and this direction. So Ben and I had no plan for this interview. And the reason is because we're so comfortable with you. We've done 1 million radio shows with you. We've, done some charity events with you. You're in on Rollertown. And as he was just breaking all that down, it was just like becoming crystal clear, apparent to me, so many things that I already knew. But you talking about Rollertown the way you talked about it and our, interactions that we've had in the past, I kind of want to jump into this because I think it's really, really interesting. When we were starting Rollertown, really the driving force behind it was Ben. Absolutely. And Ben was very focused on having something that was cool and that was ours and that, encompassed our show and all this different stuff. And then also tying in all the different tentacles of the Ben and Skin show. If we didn't have his brother, Jonathan, running it, who had experience not only in brand building, but in the beverage space, both alcohol and non-alcohol, then there's no way we would have succeeded. And obviously when we came to you, you knew us, but when you saw how talented Jonathan was, it gave you a different comfort level. But I can distinctly remember being more, I don't want to say nervous because I don't really get nervous about these things at the age I'm at, maybe 20 years ago or whatever, but I'm very old now, so I don't get nervous. But there are certain things that I'm anxious about. Yeah. And I was anxious about you because you are, this is not take anything away from anybody else we deal with. We got some really smart people. You're very analytical, very cerebral, very tactical. You're very, very smart and strategic. And I think probably part of that has to do with your own intellect, but also computer science major. Do I have this exactly what it was? And so Ben and I figured out very early on, like, okay, Travis ain't the normal dude in the sports world we deal with. Yeah. You were beyond that. And I was very anxious about presenting the investment to Travis because I knew he would pick it apart. And the fact that you did that and still invested with us made me feel really, really good about what we were doing.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Those are our kind words.
It's all true, man.
I will tell you that I walked out of that pitch saying there's no way this is happening. I'll be honest. It was an early pitch, and we were going through it, and, I know, it's crazy. This space is, or that space, I should say, is wildly difficult. It's difficult to penetrate. There are huge players in the space, and then came along like the craft brewery and microbrewery craze of like the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. I think it's fell off a little bit. Yeah. But it was wild, and so I mean, you've seen in this space so many starts and ends, and it's like you have that giant roll-up. So you either get bought by one of these giant companies and you don't maintain any of your original brand, right? Or you fail. It's kind of like where this all has shown over the last 20 years. And so it's a really scary space to get into, frankly, like from an investment standpoint. Admittedly, it's important to have diversification in your portfolio and all of that. And I certainly didn't have anything in the like the restaurant and beverage industry. And so, it was interesting enough to take the call, and we went through the call, and it's always exciting to see those things. I love hearing pitches, whether I'm even if it's not to make an investment, but just to like evaluate the pitch or whatever. Like, I love sitting and just thinking about those things. And it took me a while to really stew on that brand piece. Like, I didn't know Jonathan quite as well as I do now, and his acumen, after having been, at Rollertown, get to sit and talk over a few beers on the things that he's done and the way he sees things. Like, I feel stronger now than I did at the beginning. So I didn't have quite that much there. I obviously believed in you guys, and that, that's an important thing. But it took me a while of stewing on it to really. I think Ben texted me like 12 times. Like, Travis, are you in or out? Are you Actually, he never gave me the out option.
Never
like,
did
are you
that.
in? Like, when are you gonna do this?
And which teammates are you bringing with you?
Exactly.
I need an answer.
But it really came back to that. The branding piece is what brought it over the edge for me, and knowing that. And believing that you all could create and sell that brand and that experience. And then, an unbelievable thing happened when this all came up with the city of Frisco and being able to move down here. That's just like, one, it has to do with your guys' ability to open doors and build that community in great areas. But then, it's another, step in the story of Rollertown, and it really still aligns with that North Star, with the actual story of what a Rollertown was, and moving to opportunity and all of that stuff. I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and it's a huge risk to make a move like this.
Yeah.
But also, there's a great chance for a lot of awesome opportunity, and more so than anything else, it brings you closer in the community, and that's what you all are good at, is like being part of the community, and what you've built over there is really an experience, more than just a building or more than just a brewery. Like, it truly is a place to go and be part of something, and that's really cool.
Yeah, having you on board means the world to us. I think Skin said this perfectly. You're unlike any athlete we've ever met. I mean, you're a guy who could tear apart a computer and put it back together again. So you're one of our smartest friends, but you also happen to be one of the greatest centers to ever play the game of football. And just our relationship over time, having you on the show so many times, doing the weekly interviews, and we've talked about this before. We did a weekly show with Des Bryant when he was a rookie, and Des would sometimes say things that could get him in trouble, and our approach is always to protect the athlete, not to try to let's go get a headline. We want to build relationships, and so we would follow up with Des and say, "Oh, Des, you meant this, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's what I meant." And we're like, "Okay, good," and we'd protect him that way. With you, we realized we don't need to protect you. In fact, we can throw fastballs right at your nuts. And so we would ask the craziest, wildest, most inappropriate, effed up questions ever. And you were just like, bring it.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't fair that we did that, but we had so much confidence in you.
Yeah, it's the exact opposite of anything we've ever done with any guest we've ever had on, but you could just hang with us.
This guy can do it. It's no problem.
But so you became our friend, and so early on, and we went on so many great fun radio adventures with you, and there's so many great stories along the way. But I'm just proud of you as a person, and to see what you went through with it's Guillain-Barré syndrome,
That's
correct?
Right. Yeah.
And I didn't know how serious it was. I knew at camp you weren't feeling your best. You something wasn't right, and we remember talking to you about that. And you were still like having a good camp. Like it just wasn't your level of what you wanted. And I remembered the announcement, and you were going to miss some time. And then we didn't see you for a while, and the next time I saw you, you were in the locker room and you were having a hard time walking.
Yeah.
And that's when it really hit me that, oh my gosh, like he's like going through something really. That's when I understood the levity of it.
Yeah.
And so I just assumed that, hey man, you're going to go kick this thing's ass, but your days playing football are over.
Yeah.
I kind of assumed that in my head, but to see you fight that adversity, overcome it, come back, make a Pro Bowl, and then throw up the peace sign like, all right, man, I got everything I need out of football. I'm going to go be a businessman now. That's unbelievable. Everything you overcame. We're just so proud of that. Like, but I can't imagine what a child, because how old are you when you find out, okay, you have Guillain-Barré syndrome?
I mean, I must have been late 20s. I was 27, maybe 28.
It was pre-pandemic, right?
Yeah, it was 2018.
Yeah, everything runs together.
Yeah.
man.
Are you thinking you're ever going to play again? Or
I mean, honestly, I had no idea what that was going to look like. I think one of the things that helped me get through all of that is with the type of Guillain-Barré that I had, there's some stat like 98% of people reach 95% or more of their pre-condition functionality. is like that was what they had told me. Whether that was true or not, I don't know. And so having that to hold on to and knowing that, hey, I just got to get through this first part and then do what I need to do and I can get back. It made me feel like it was a possibility. I didn't have a ton of despair at that point. I had a great neurologist that kind of walked me through all of that and spoke to me at that level where I could understand it and was frank with me. So then I knew that I wanted to get back there, and I wouldn't know if I'd be able to get back there unless I played ball again. And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go back and make sure that I could do it and do it at the level that I wanted to, and then get out is what needed to happen.
And y'all had small kids.
I mean, that's the crazy part. My daughter was a baby, and that was one of those things that I couldn't carry her up the stairs and put her to bed, because I wasn't allowed to hold her like that, and so. That gets tough. Yeah. And so really at the core of this, and I've talked about this a little bit more recently than I had at the time, but that's the moment that you realize what's really important in life. It's not football, it's your family, and it's the time that you spend with them and the relationships with your friends and the people at home. And so to me, like you said, I got what I needed out of football, and I feel bad sometimes looking back that I didn't play more, for Mr. Jones and the family and everybody that had really believed in me. But the more I talked to them, they knew that it needed to be this way, and there's no hard feelings or anything there. And so I feel really at peace with that decision, and I'm really glad that I was able to move into the next chapter of my life.
One of my favorite things about interviewing you over the years, there's so many things, but I love the story you would tell about how early on in your career you watched all sorts of films so you could prepare. You're facing these unbelievably talented, big, strong defensive linemen, some of the great, biggest athletic dudes in the world, and you're breaking down all this film, and you're like, oh, wait, this might be counterintuitive to what remind me of why I love this answer so much.
Yeah. A lot of people will be very surprised to hear that I didn't watch film. I did watch it a little bit early. That's the coaches tell you got to watch film. You got to do all this stuff. And now I will say we did watch a lot of film in meetings and stuff, and we talked. But generally on your own, you're expected to watch film and watch guys and make sure you know what's coming and tendencies and things like that. But there was a day we played against Chicago. It was really cold. I remember it being really cold in Chicago, and it was early on in my career, and we were playing against Guillain-Barré. He was playing defensive end there, and I had studied so hard, and I knew that he did this move on this game where the tackle would go up the field and take the guard out, and then he would come inside into the middle, knowing that he was facing a center sliding to him. Center's the worst pass blocker, and he's the pass rusher, So when he did this, he would always do this shake, 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 and he would go over the top. Because, again, the center's sliding to you, and so you're going to his offhand, you're going to his backside, he's sliding to you, he's usually overextended. It was a great move. But it was 99% that this happened. He would make that move, and the 1% was because the pass already got through or something like that. And so I was ready for it. And so, of course, this happens. We're down. It must have been back at the 10-yard line or something like that. We were backed up. And here it comes. I see it. And sure as shit, he shake, shake, shake. So I set my feet so that I can go back over instead of fading to him. And he saw that I set my feet, and he stuck his arm directly in my chest, blew me up, threw me backwards, over, ass over tea kettle, and I went on my back. And it was at that moment that I realized that good players in the NFL work on these things and know the tendencies and work and do all those things. But the great players in the NFL play the game in the moment and can make that adjustment and see that the center set his feet instead of sliding to it. In that shake time was his time to evaluate, stop my feet, and go across. And so at that moment I said, I need to stop doing this, because if I guess, I'm going to be wrong, certain percentage of the time. But if I focus in on my technique and put myself in a good position to react in that moment, then I'm going to be just fine. And so that's when I said I'm not watching film anymore. And I vividly remember a time when Coach Garrett had gotten up in the front, and he was upset because didn't feel like people were prepared enough. And so there was this. He was going to put everyone's watch time stats up there because they can track how much you're watching, everything like that. And I had the lowest number, like 0. 0 was the number. Like I don't even know if I opened my iPad that week. And so he ended up not being able to show it because like I don't know if I was captain that year, like whatever it was. Like I was in a place where he couldn't actively make that point because I wasn't watching film. And so we talked about it at that point. He said, "Travis, what's the deal here?" And I explained it to him, and he was good with it at that point. But it ruined his meeting. So.
There's so many incredible things about that, but the thing that blows me away more than anything is I do not understand how, with that much going on, that quickly, y'all having to do what you have to do, being able to see the nuanced things you're talking about through that effing helmet.
Yeah.
Like, I just think about that taking, in basketball, so much of it is peripheral vision.
Yep.
And I've always thought about that helmet and go, how do those guys have peripheral vision in there?
It's hard.
It's hard. It's got to be. And for all that to happen and you guys to both see it all, it's like, that's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, you lose a lot of it. And frankly, your helmet choice changes based on that. A lot of people don't think about it, but I know there's been a lot of talk about people changing helmets and, some people refuse to change helmets. That's a big change.
Yeah.
It's way bigger than you experience on the outside. You're like, oh, it's just a helmet. They're all the same. But another 2 millimeter, like another centimeter loss of that perception angle, like that's really difficult. Or I looked at switching to a safer helmet, and it was significantly heavier. And as you know, like one of my specialties was that reach block, and part of that technique is being able to move your head as quickly as possible from point A to point B. So I could not lose, 0.2 of a second or whatever it was that I was going to lose because that was heavy. And so I didn't make the change. And so, it's difficult. It really cuts you off, and you got to have your head on a swivel, and you got to know, probably more than anything else, what you have to be looking at. Like, there's a training in what you should be looking at, not just what you should be looking for.
Right.
It's how is your eye progression moving throughout the play.
What was your favorite thing about playing with Romo and your favorite thing about playing with Dak?
Romo held me to a really high level of accountability and like a really high standard. I remember early on during OTAs, he was not practicing. He had gotten hurt, or it was Tony, and I was out there as a rookie and just out with the starters, and so I'm freaking out. I'm anxious. I'm trying to figure out just what's going on. I'm trying to stay above water. And I would come off the field, and he would immediately come over to me and, "Why did you make that call? Why did you do this?" And he wasn't questioning whether it was the right call. He wanted to know why I made the call, one, so that he knew I understood why the call had to be made, but he also wanted to know how I thought and what my thought process was going in, so that he could know whether or not we could work together. And once we got to that point where we really understood each other, the thought process, he knew how much he could offload to me. We started to work together in a tandem that was pretty amazing, where he basically gave me, X% of the pre-snap and just trusted that I could do it. So then he could go focus on other things, and it worked really well. We did a lot of things that I think centers don't generally do. I was adjusting like the passing routes occasionally.
Really?
And that's because of the protections and how you handle special blitzers and things like that. But we'd set the protection in a way so that we knew that that receiver was going to be free if somebody came over here. And like there was all these different things. And all that happens, so fast right before the play. But he wouldn't have let me do that if he didn't know why I was doing it. And, I could make the call, and he immediately knew that was why I was doing it. So he was looking out there for that pass and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun playing with him, because we could really focus on some of those really tiny details.
I want to get to Dak in a second, but I want to ask this because I'm so interested in chemistry and how it forms and all that.
Well, you put the two chemicals in the...
Not from an engineering standpoint.
sorry.
Yeah. You guys, I want to know how different or alike you and Romo are. You guys are both Wisconsin boys.
Yeah.
I'm curious how different y'all are alike y'all's communities that you grow up in.
Yeah.
Kind of give me the background on that.
So I didn't know Tony. Really what I knew about Tony was that he was the Cowboys quarterback. The towns are actually like 25 minutes apart.
Okay.
It's really close. Burlington's a little bit bigger. It's not like the biggest school in Wisconsin, but it's definitely bigger. Like we wouldn't have played against them in football. And Tony's, no offense, Tony, significantly older than I am. So there was like some of those weird things where like my aunts and uncles might have like come across him, or like some like the weird family ties there. But I didn't start getting questions about Tony until I was in Dallas. It wasn't like a high school thing by any means. So frankly, I don't know a ton about Tony's history and his family and all of that. Like we didn't spend time, going through all those things. But we spent more time together once we were down here, and probably a couple years in, started to kick the tires a little bit more on that. I would say our relationship was very business oriented. We were coworkers, and obviously football and being in a locker room has a unique characteristic there. But when you're in that position that Tony was in, that Whit was in, that those guys have seen so many young people come in and cycle out. And I didn't realize this when I was young. I was always like, man, those guys are jerks. I come in here, I'm like making a difference, and I can't get the time of day. And it was very cold. And as I got older, I realized how much of the team is turning over, and that you can't possibly form relationships with every single person in the locker room as they come in, even if they're starters, because that stuff just moves. And so I started to understand that a little bit more. But our relationship definitely started much more as like a business relationship and as coworkers, and it's grown since then. I've gotten to know his family a little bit, and wonderful people, and we spend a little bit more time outside of football. And it's always good to see him around and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's a unique chemistry. I'm excited to talk about Dak and how that, because it's very different. Like we're both really awesome quarterbacks, and they both are, I shouldn't say were, because Dak still is. In fact, he's probably better now than ever. But just very different ways of approaching the locker room and the field and all the things. Like it's very different.
I want to. So here's what I'm thinking as you're breaking this down. I can remember 2016 so well, and the talk about Dak, because what everybody was talking about was he tries to befriend everybody. He tries to learn something about everybody and be the man of the locker room and all this stuff, which is the opposite of what the description of Tony was. And as you're breaking all that down, I'm like, well, now that Dak is about Tony's age, I wonder if Dak has pulled back on all that and is probably in a different experience now and doesn't try to befriend every single person that comes through the locker room.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Dak's still that guy.
Okay,
as
cool.
far as I know, which is awesome. So Dak, I'll go backwards. Dak's relationship and chemistry is so different. He really is a man of the locker room, and he wants to be there and support everybody and make a relationship. He is a guy that actually will go up to the new guy in the locker room and ask him, where he's from, how is, all of the things that just like start to build a relationship. And I don't know, a lot of people know, but he's like a psych guy. He studied psych in college, and I think that has a lot to do with his ability to lead the team, and that he's very purposeful in his relationships, and he's very purposeful in how he leads and how he handles situations when it comes to the team and the group of men that he's leading. And so really powerful as a leader. And part of that comes with just the fact that he on top of knowing how to handle the relationship to do that, they're really genuine relationships. Like he actually really cares. And if there was something going on, like that's a guy that I would call. He would make whatever needed to happen, because he really does care about that relationship. And there's something about that. And the thing is, like, everybody in the locker room wants to play for that guy. It's not about that we're friends. It's that you can see how humble he is and how much he cares about the team and how much he cares about everybody. And even if it's not necessarily for you, that's a guy you want to go sacrifice for, because he is sacrificing so much for everybody else on top of it. And he's always with everybody. Like he's not the type of leader that leads from the front. He's in that group, and he's bringing everybody along with him.
Man, I think back to your line you played on with the Cowboys with Zack Martin and Tyron and several other guys, but the three of you guys are the ones we go back to the most, the first-round picks, and also incredibly special. What an amazing offensive line that you guys had. And I'm curious about Zack. You guys became great friends and fast friends, and like when you heard that he was the draft pick, are you thinking, we're going to be friends? Or did you, the first time you met him, you're like, oh, I like this guy? Like, how did that relationship come?
Someone at the Cowboys actually introduced the idea early. It was like, hey, there's this guy, that's going to be in, and he's just like you. He's from the Midwest. He went to Notre Dame. It's very similar upbringing, hard worker, family guy, the whole deal. And I was like, this sounds great. Like, can I get his number? And I'll reach out. And the first thing I did was offer him a car. Like, hey, I got an extra car in the garage if you need, when you're down here looking for a house or whatever. Because I remember coming down and having to, like, Uber around and try and find, we were looking for a house. And it's like you're Ubering from listing to listing. It was crazy. But, doing whatever I could to just help him out and make it easier for him. I wasn't looking for anything out of it, but I knew that, he was going to be a mainstay. He was a first-round pick. So, might as well try and help him out. And, I think just the first time that we were together, it just became apparent that we were really similar in a lot of cool ways and come from a similar background. And it's hard coming into the NFL, especially with that type of pressure and those expectations. And so we just had a lot to relate on and talk through early, and that just budded the relationship.
How quickly did you know that he was a badass at the job? I'm not saying like he's karate guy. I'm saying how quickly did you know he was a stud?
It was into those first OTAs.
Yeah.
I mean, it was right away. I didn't know necessarily we don't watch the college kids film or anything like that, but once he was out there on the field, you could see it, and then your eyes kept opening as it went along. Like, it was OTAs, he was doing these special things, and then it was into the games, he was doing these things, and then he was playing against, top level defenders and not just shutting them down, like doing weird things around it. One of the best examples of Zach is there's this play. I don't remember exactly where it was. It was at home. I don't remember who we were playing against, but he got bent back like Matrix style and popped back up. He never fell. He just was in a really crazy position, was able to recover back out of it and get his hips back in the right position and completed the block. And it's his ability to bend and recover from adverse situations is unlike anybody I've ever seen before. And I think that's one of his special things, is that he's really good at getting himself in the right position, but if he gets in the wrong position, he can correct out of it so well.
Wow.
We saw that in our prank. And so it's pretty crazy because of our relationship with you. We pranked Zack Martin multiple times, which is an insane
I
thing.
think he doesn't like you guys.
It's an insane thing to say. The first one was at training camp, and we had this deal where we were doing this trivia game where KT gets hit we tell Zach, hey, we're going to play this game. KT's going to have we're going to have the wrong answer, and KT gets hit in the face with a pie. And then
God bless KT, because he hated that.
He hated that.
He hated
He hated it, and he
had
did
to
it.
do all that stuff.
Yes.
He did it, yeah.
And he killed.
He did a great job with it. And so, but the secret plan was at the very end, we were going to hit Zack Martin. You were going to hit him in the face, not us. You were going to hit him in the face with a pie. And
his rookie year.
And so we all know what's going to happen. Everybody but Zach knows what the plan is. And you go to hit Zach in the face with a pie, and he did that Matrix thing. He bent over backwards and got out of the way, and so the pie completely missed him and hit
Joe Trahan
from Channel 8.
So everybody knew but Zach and the local news.
But he he bent out of the way. I'm like, how is he that quick? But that's exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah, that probably was the moment we knew he was going to be great.
Right at that moment. But
breaking news on the show.
And that made Channel 8 News that night, so that was great for us.
But honestly, my favorite thing that we've ever been involved with in media was the other prank.
Yeah.
Little Noah.
And this idea that, and you're in on it and you're pranking him, and it's like, all right, we're going to say we're having a bar mitzvah, and you guys are going to make an appearance, and 2 Cowboys players show up, get a huge sum of money to show up. And he's a rookie, so that's his rookie year, right? So
that was his
early, maybe between his rookie and second year.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
But he hadn't been around the block really yet,
right?
And so he was going to look to you for affirmation, or that this is confirmation that this is a legit thing.
Yeah.
And so you're going to get $30,000 to show up at a bar mitzvah, and all we got to do is hop on the phone and do one quick phone call with the family to set up some of the details in advance. So we get on the phone on this conference call, and Skin is playing the kid in the background going, who's Zack Martin? I want Romo. And I'm the old man who doesn't know anything about football, totally disrespecting you guys. You guys are the fat guys who get in the way of the skilled players. That's what I'm told. And every time he's ready to walk, Travis is like, no, okay, yeah, we can do this. We need you to show up in full uniform. We need you to dump a Gatorade bath.
Pop out of a cake and tell Noah
jump into the cake.
And tell Noah the birds and the bees.
Yes. And all these ridiculous things. And then at the very end, it's like, Travis, you're getting 30 grand. And what, Zach, you're getting 2500 or $5,000 or something. It's like
low ball.
So disrespectful. And I can't believe you pranked your teammate like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needed it. We had to get him. He was a superstar. He knew it. We had to knock him down.
My favorite thing about that, and you may have the picture of it. I don't know where it is, but Zach later sent us the picture of the notes he took during the call.
Yes.
And as it's going, the note
question mark.
like what the F is this?
He wrote down Grandma Rose and underlined it with a star by it, but he was so thoughtful that he was taking notes.
Yep.
But the idea that
on paper too.
On paper.
Legal pad.
And you guys, every angle was more ridiculous than the last. It was like, we need you guys to show up in full uniform, helmets and everything when you pull up to valet. And you were like, yeah, we can talk to the trainer. We'll be able to get in there, get our equipment. And he's got to be thinking, what the hell is this
doing?
And then he was so nice because at the very end of the prank where it's like he's getting lowballed and you're making all this money, he was like, yeah, I'm probably going to let Travis do this one alone. He still didn't want to ruin it for you.
That's right. He knew what it was.
He knows so good.
He knew that offensive linemen don't get these opportunities. That was a big number.
Gosh.
To take that. Yeah. Yeah, no, he was a great sport about it, and then he was pretty upset when we told him to probably more upset about that than the low ball offer. But.
Yeah, he had a really good cuss, and then he said, "Are we on the radio right now?"
Yeah,
like, nah, we're recording.
So obviously, great relationship there, and so many wonderful memories. What about Tyron? What made him so special in your opinion?
Tyron is special for a couple of reasons. I think that one of them is obviously his physique. If you haven't, you guys obviously have, but if people listening have not seen that man in person, that is what you would draw up if you could draw a perfect specimen for a tackle.
Not a lot of tackles have six packs, right?
Yeah, and it's not just about how strong he is. It's like his arms are so long and his legs are so long. His
insane
feet move
frame.
well, and his hands are big. And I mean, it's just like all of the things that you need. He's arguably a little short for a tackle, but his arm length was long enough to make it all work. And so his physique was, I'm drooling over him right now. I shouldn't, but his physique was special. But then beyond that, his upbringing and his background had taught him a work ethic that you don't see in a lot of places. He just didn't know any different than to just work. And he was always there early. He was always working hard. There was no time where you just did it half-assed. You were rolling if Tyron was going to be there, and that's what did it. That guy was super athletic, super strong, worked super hard, and was going to try and be the best that he could because that's all he knew, and that's all he was going to do. And it was really impressive to watch that guy play, especially when he was at his best and was really focusing on these tiny little details, before he started to have, the health issues that came up for him. He was really, really impressive.
It is so weird when there's a group of giant dudes and one guy stands out amongst the giant dudes.
Yes.
That's a really eye-opening thing.
Yeah, and it was clearly that way. I remember I invited him to my wedding, and one of the guests, I won't mention any names, just came up and just grabbed his arm, just felt it. I'm sorry, I just had to feel what this was. It looks too crazy to be real.
Right. You had Kim Kardashian at your wedding.
Listen, I understand that that's probably assault, but he took it well.
So you've known us for a long time, and you've probably been forced to listen to a bunch of our Dallas Cowboys opinions that were probably terrible. And you see, you see people on social media with opinions and stuff. And how different is it being on the inside and then hearing all these opinions and theories? And obviously Jerry loves the circus, so he loves the drama, stirring the pot and all these different things. On behalf of all media, when we're talking Cowboys, are we generally in the right vicinity or are we way off?
I would say you are somewhere between those two things. a lot of you have had experience and you've talked to the right people, and like there's people in the media that have been on the team, and so they have a little bit more insight. But I tell you, you can't really know what's going on unless you're in there.
Yeah.
And as honest as I try to be with you all, like I've only ever told you 10% of the things that have happened. You know,
To your credit, you're a vault. Like and like just like we couldn't throw you a hard question that you couldn't handle. If we came calling trying to find out something was going on, we realized he's not gonna. You know, and you were great about protecting the team in that way.
The thing is, like, you can get the information and what you need without throwing people under the bus, without giving any of the secrets and doing all those things. Not that there's like bad stuff happening behind the scenes or anything like that, but what your question doesn't need the reason why. You just need to know what's going on. So like, let's just tell you what's going on, and then let that situation sort itself out behind closed doors. And I think that's a good place to be at. Like, I think that weirdly enough, like, I'm not trying to like play to the show, but that's what the media wants. That's what the people want, is to hear what's happening here and happening right now, not what's going to happen in 3 months because this guy stepped on this guy's wife's toe, like at a party. Like, you don't need to know that. You just need to know what happens, like, in reaction to those things. And so, plus, you obviously don't want to be breaking people's trust, and it's about the team more than anything else. And so making sure that you're keeping the team together is obviously an important thing.
Yeah. That's the thing too. Like, we've been in the sports media business for a long time now, and I can remember the way I thought when we were first doing it, and then having those really eye-opening experiences where, like, man, you do not know shit. Yeah. And I just know over time I really started saying this phrase a lot was, well, I'm not in the room.
Right.
And I didn't say that to like mass things. I knew, man, I hear things, but I'm not in the room.
Right.
And the thing that's always so amazing to me about football more than any other sport is just there's a lot of reasons for there to be division within the room. And I don't even mean from a temperamental standpoint. That's part of it. Big ego people, they're big egos because they're successful.
Right.
I'm not judging character.
No.
Money is involved. And then the position groups are divided, and the side of the ball is divided, and it's rurally and urban divided, and there's just so many different things that can make it chaotic. Like, I can't overstate how insane it is that the Patriots were so good for so long.
Yeah.
Because there's so many reasons for anything like that in any walk of life to fall apart.
Right.
Football amazes me more than any sport in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing that goes just like slightly above and beyond that is how close everything really is.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is it's really easy to look at the NFL and say the Jets are really bad, right? But the Jets are really good.
They got talent.
They are just not right there.
Yeah.
And it's that big of a difference. And when you talk about how many things can go wrong and that tiny of a difference, that's what makes it even more impressive, is because everything is just so close. And the routine that you have to put in place and the standards and the practices, everything has to be just right. And that's why you play the game, because anybody can win on Sunday. It's really amazing to sit back and watch the NFL now after having been in it, because you expect this team to go in and win, but one thing gets thrown off in that balance that week. Somebody says something, somebody's brother says something, like, it can all go wrong really, really quickly.
Yeah, right.
And everybody is so good that you have to be near perfect in every game for the outcome to be the way that you expect it to be.
Yeah. Another one of my, excuse me, another one of my,
too.
yeah. excuse me.
God, no.
Yeah.
Travis?
Another one of my favorite Travis Frederick moments or stories from over the years is your approach to your photo in the program. And I love this because, you're such a nice guy, and people watching this see what a nice, affable guy. But you also could flip a switch and go toe-to-toe with some of the baddest dudes on the planet. And so that it truly is a switch to flip. And so I would see your picture in the Cowboys program, and I'd be like, he looks pissed. Like, look how angry he is. He's furious in this. And so, and even it was Fallon. Jimmy Fallon.
Yes,
had you on, and it was some joke about, hey, I got stuff in a bunker or something, like, right? Wasn't it something like
he
that?
was a doomsday bunker guy.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Doomsday bunker. And so obviously he doesn't know you or anything, but here's
Doesn't know that I actually have a doomsday.
Do you actually have one?
I do, yeah.
Oh my God.
Travis is a prepper. Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Planner,
Well, I
prepper?
don't know. I'm not that deep into the prepping. We did start canning this year, so we're on.
Really?
Prepping, yeah.
Okay, is this for a zombie apocalypse or is this for?
There could be a lot of things that go
Yeah.
wrong. In fact, there are a growing number of things that could go wrong rather than things that are going to make them better. So,
It's a tariff apocalypse.
yeah, I hate to say this, but we're all getting closer to the end.
Okay.
His AI models have worked through this. We're
Exactly. So remind us of your theory and your thought process when it comes to getting your program picture.
Yeah, well, what most people don't know is that when you arrive to the stadium, on your seat, there's a program. Whatever your jersey's hung up, you have all that stuff. But every NFL player in every locker room, whether it's the home game or the away game, they put a program there because you're there, hours before the game, and so you got something you're just flipping through it or whatever. And so that's the person's first impression of you is what they see in the program. It's not, obviously they've watched the film on you and know who you are, but it's really important that you give the right impression there. And so it had nothing to do with the fans. It had nothing to do with anything else. Like that face was for the guy that was going across from me so that he knew that I was going to be serious during the game. And then whether or not I actually was serious during the game was a different story. I never played angry. I never wanted to be angry. Whether or not it looked that way, I always wanted to be level-headed because you could make good decisions level-headed. You can't let your emotions come over you and deal with that. So, some guys played angry or played mean. I just played the game. You just have to play it at that level.
Is part of that your position as well, though? I feel like you have to think the most along the offensive line. Maybe I'm overselling that. Maybe I'm wrong. But there's a lot that goes on with being a center.
There's a lot that goes on there. That's my way of doing it. I couldn't tell you that all centers try and play even. Like I'm sure that there are some that try to play more angry or different ways of doing it. That was my way of doing it, and it just was really important for me. Like I've mentioned before, you have such little amount of time and so much information you have to process. You can't have any of those other things going on in your mind.
What's Jerry really like behind the scenes?
Jerry's a unique case, and I think everyone would probably say that's met him. Obviously, there are things that come out in the news that we don't need to talk about those things, but the things come up. But in every one of my interactions with that guy, he cares, and if you are a person that does good by him, he's going to do good by you in all ways. But on top of that, he's a wildly shrewd businessman. Everything he does, he's thinking about the business. He knows the ins and outs of that, and you talk about the media and the circus and all that. Like it's 100% true. Like that is business. That's branding. That is putting your logo on every single TV in America and all that stuff. And where the star ended up in Frisco and the real estate developments that are there. I mean, it's planned out years. I mean, it's a big business, and it's really pretty fun to look at that. Like as a person that likes business, to see how that's handled. So you have that, and the other thing is he loves the Cowboys. Like, that is his life. There are a lot of things that happen in his life, but I bet if you asked him personally, one-on-one drinking over Johnny Walker, what is the one, if you had to get rid of everything else in your life, what would it be? Obviously there's family, but like you talk about businesses, like the Cowboys are it. He really loves it and wants to be a part of it. And so by that, like you can feel that passion in everything that he does, every interaction that you have with him. And I really have enjoyed spending time with Jerry.
I think, the thing, and as a fan, and I'm still a fan, there's a lot of things about Jerry that drives me crazy, but the thing about it is there's a lot of ways to win. And so your average fan is like, well, we haven't been to the conference title game in 30 years. We're 500 or whatever. But I could be wrong. I think Jerry looks at it as, well, we're winning in all these other areas. Right. And the fans don't evaluate it that way. But it's hard. You talk about enjoying the business part of it. If you're a business person, they've won a billion times over.
Right.
So, having some guy, wearing his Des Bryant jersey, a couple beers in saying Jerry doesn't know shit and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dog, he's won every which way.
Well, and the other side of that is that there's so much more to it. It goes back to what we talked about with the NFL being so close. The part of the reason that people get upset with the Cowboys is because it always always get disappointed, right? Mm-hmm. You always feel like you have a chance, and you got the right team, you got the right people, and you get there, and then it falls off. Well, he's been competitive for so long.
Yeah.
Like, even though they haven't been to the NFC Championship, you don't go into a year saying, the Cowboys are going to have a tough year this year. Mm-hmm. You know, it's always right there. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously there are things that can be done maybe to help get you over that edge, over that bubble. But when you talk about how perfect everything has to be for that to work out, man, they're so close. And he's done such a good job of putting standards in place that keep it at that level. In all things business, there's always cycles, right? You know, I have good seasons, you have bad seasons. And I don't mean football seasons, I mean seasons of business. And if you look at that organization, like, when has it been bad? When has it really been bad? And you know, this is before me, but you go back before the 90s, and, you know, there was probably some bad times, but, like, it hasn't really been bad unless weird situations have come up.
One stretch with the Campo years, and that was before Parcells, and you were probably in junior high when that happened. I mean, I don't even...
Maybe even before that.
Maybe before that. So you're right. I mean, even like there was, I think, a fan malaise towards Jason Garrett, but if you step back, Jason Garrett was 500, and they were always in the mix.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
Always in the mix.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's tough because you do get that criticism, and I get it. I get why the fans are upset. You know, you want to win a Super Bowl. I tell you what, Jerry would do anything to win a Super Bowl. But sometimes taking the shot can ruin all the rest of it. You know that in business too. You spend your last dime on something and it doesn't work right. You know, that's the end of the business for you. It's not about staying competitive and being good and continuing on and giving yourself reasonably risked chances to do so. And even in the NFL, you can't just like spend $1 bazillion and win. Like, if he could write a check, he would. But I just mean that being able to stay that good for so long makes it harder sometimes to get those chances. But you'd rather be there and you'd rather be relevant all the time than win 1 year and then be bad for 10 years. In my opinion, I don't know. I mean, I would have loved to win a Super Bowl, but
excuse me.
Who are you talking to right now?
Okay, so I have an interesting way to ask you a question. I'm going to ask Skin a question.
So you're saying that you have an interesting way of asking the question?
Yes, I'm going to do this in a unique way because I'm going to ask him the question that I'm really asking you.
Okay.
I want to hear his answer, and then I'd like for you to answer.
Got it.
So Travis Frederick
Here.
retires from football at an early age. 28 when you retired?
I think so, yeah.
You talking to him or me?
Still you.
Okay.
So he retires at 28. That's early. But you knew he was going to go on and have a brilliant business career. He started businesses. He's obviously doing exceedingly well outside of football. So I have a question about Travis, and I'm going to ask you the question first, and then I want Travis to answer it. Does Travis Frederick love football?
Ooh. Here's how I would answer that question. Travis Frederick. Am I Travis?
No, you're you.
Okay. Travis Frederick loved football, but he didn't love it more than the other things in his life that he loved.
Right.
And when he went through the Guillain-Barré syndrome, he reevaluated that love for all those things.
Okay. So I think Travis Frederick used professional football to go make money and have business capital to go chase his business dreams. But I think he always intended to protect his body and get out of the game early. I think that was his plan. But does Travis Frederick watch football? How involved in football is he? Does he want his kids to play football? Does Travis Frederick love the game of football? Not being a professional football player. Do you love football?
There's a very layered answer, I think, is the way that I put this. I think that team sports provide a very unique opportunity in life. And I think that they teach a lot of lessons throughout life. And I appreciate those lessons. So I think that football and the sport of football is one of the greatest of the team sports in those learning ways. I think that it's a great thing for young men and women to play and learn from, because there are so many lessons that can be learned from that game. So in that way, I love football. I love that there's so much strategy that goes in, but at the end of the day, it's so physical, and there's so many different things that go into it. So I really appreciate that about the game. But if you ask me if I love playing football, the answer is no. Football was an opportunity for me. I loved it when I was a kid. It was fun. It was all of those things, but it became a job for me really early, like in college.
Wow.
And frankly, in high school, if you would have asked me, I would have told you were crazy if I thought I was going to go play in the NFL. For me, I like playing high school football as much as the next guy. And I went to my high school coach and said, "Hey, coach, I got to pay for college, and I'm pretty good at this football thing. What can I do to get a scholarship? I don't really care where, but I want to pay for school. I want to go get an engineering degree." And so he, got me some drills, and I got with a strength coach and a speed coach and all of these things. And we sent film out to hundreds and hundreds of colleges. I was the first Division I athlete, football athlete, to come out of my high school. So there's no precedent. There weren't scouts looking around. This is a tiny little school in rural Wisconsin.
What was your graduating class about?
123, I think, 125.
Yeah.
Wow. And there are 4 towns that go to this one school that make up that school. So, I didn't. At that point, I said, "Okay, what can I do?" And so things went well for me, and I ended up getting a couple of offers, and Wisconsin comes knocking, and I didn't watch college football. I didn't like watching football at that time, so I didn't. To me, it wasn't always a dream. People say, "Was it? It's so amazing you got to accomplish your dream and play at Wisconsin." It wasn't my dream. It wasn't at all. But Wisconsin had a great engineering school. And if I'm going to play football, Wisconsin's got a great offensive line, a history of offensive line like that. It seems like a great place to go. So I go and play at Wisconsin. And to me, that's the end of the line. I'm going to go there. I'm going to study. I double majored in computer engineering, computer science. I was like, I'm going to take advantage of the time I have here, get 2 degrees, and then I'm going to go on and go on with the rest of my life. And at some point my sophomore year, I started buying lottery tickets so that I didn't have to play football anymore to pay for school. I didn't win, so I kept playing. And I then went on, and it was after my sophomore year, we had 3 offensive linemen get drafted. One of them was the 6th man, and I had already beaten him out for a position. And he got drafted to Dallas, actually. His name was Bill Nagy. Got drafted in the 6th round. And then there was a guy in the 3rd round and a guy in the 1st round, and I was like, "Well, I'm as good as this guy. I'm, maybe I can do this." And so at that point, I was like, "Oh, well, let's turn it on and let's see what we can do." Not that I was working any harder. To me, I always grew up being taught that if you're going to do something, do it right. Always put your full effort into it and do it the right way. And so, we just continued to work and continue to move forward, and things went well. My time at college was productive, and I was a good athlete there. But I was still really focused on engineering and doing that, and I had a great group of friends. I tell the story in business that I had this great group of friends that I worked with in all my engineering classes, because it's not a very big thing. Computer engineering is not a big major, so there's maybe 30 people in our class as we're going through. And so this group of guys during the season would kind of take a little bit more of the work. I was around, but they'd do a little bit more in the off season. I'd kind of make up for that work, and they were always willing to work overnight. We do all-nighters, not because we wanted to hang out during the day, but because I couldn't start until 9 o'clock when football was done, and they would always be on my time and all that stuff. And I was so jealous of them because they got jobs at Facebook and Uber and Microsoft, and they were out of college. That's what they did. But I went and I went to the combine instead of job fairs, and got drafted to the Cowboys, and it was a great experience. And I really enjoyed my time with the Cowboys, and frankly, I loved the relationships that I built, being in the locker room, being with the men that were there, and the things that we did outside. We had a really cool group of people, really special group of people that are still my friends today. But I was playing the game because I was okay at it, and I was able to keep doing it, and it was a great way to start, my family's life and get things off the right step. And so, you asked me if I love playing the game of football. I didn't play the game of football because I loved it. I played it because I was doing it. I was always going to do it the right way if I was going to do it, and I was playing for the guys around me because those guys loved. Zack Martin loves football, and I would never want to disappoint him. I would never want. But like Zack knew my relationship with the game, and he was okay with that. Like that was never a problem for us. We just had a different viewpoint of what it was, but that didn't mean that my game was less serious than his or any of those things. I was not less dedicated to the game. I didn't not watch film because I didn't love football. I didn't watch film because of you know, the other stuff that went along with that. And so, I think it's a unique answer that probably you're not going to hear a lot of other places. But no, I didn't love playing the game of football. I do watch way more football now than I ever did.
Well, one of the reasons I was curious about your answer is because I know you're helping out. You're helping coach some high school kids.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, I'm not surprised by his answer, but at the same time, I'm like, well, why is he messing around with that high school right now?
So I want to get your answer on this because it's not like we're not going to call you and talk to you about some game. We're not going to talk about fantasy football.
Yeah.
And I've seen your schedule, and I know it's business, and that's what you're incredibly passionate about. And so you find yourself helping high school kids with the game. How did that come to be, and what are you doing?
Yeah, it goes back to the first thing I said, which is I think that football is an amazing teaching tool, and I think it's something that is needed in young people's lives. I think it's a really important thing. And whether it's football or some other team sport or a team activity, whether that's like a club that you're involved in, that you're committed to, that you're doing things together and you're spending time with other people and learning relationships and not just talking over Zoom calls, like that's what you need in your life. And so this is something that I have talent for, and I think it's always important to share your talent, to pay it forward, to help the people in the young crowd, like the youth, come up and have opportunities. And so to me, this is my way of giving opportunities, sharing some of the knowledge that I gained over years and years and years to the next people. You know, there's a lot of people that spent a lot of money and effort on me to train me to be really good. You know, we often talked to the Navy SEALs, and I have some friends that are in the service there, and they talk about how much money the government, the taxpayers, have spent on them, like as an asset. You look at a tank, and a tank costs, $2 million, whatever it costs to build a tank. Like that person, that asset that is a person, an operator, is worth far more. Mm-hmm. They spend millions of dollars on these like super specialized people. And it's amazing the way that they take that and share that knowledge elsewhere. Now, a lot of it is very not useful in our daily lives, but there's so much knowledge that is how you operate, how you work together as a team, how you communicate, how you regiment things, and how you eliminate distractions. All of those things they're so good at, and they were able to share that with me along with a lot of other coaches and things like that. And so those are the things that I'm passionate about sharing to these young kids. They're not everybody gets the opportunities that I got, to be with some of the best coaches and players in the world and talk with all of these people. I always shrugged off when we'd have some celebrity come and talk to us or some, motivational speaker or whatever. Those people have been through things, and those opportunities were so amazing. And so many people will never even come close to those opportunities. And so if I can pass those forward, pass some of those learnings on, it makes me feel like the investment that other people have made into me is paying off. It's not about the time that I spent on the field. It's about that knowledge, those experiences that I can share outward and help other people and spread that sort of network of good.
All right, I'm going to, I'm going to over-contextualize this next question.
Okay.
And I'm going to start with the fact that Ben and I are old enough for you to be our son if we were teen dads, if we were late teen dads, right? Or if we grew up, in the 40s.
Sure.
So when we were growing up, the term nerd described a person that was socially awkward, probably very smart, probably didn't have a dating life, probably longed for a social life. Maybe, when they got in situations with people, they freaked out and gave you too much information, but they were very smart. They were very nerdy about stuff. And then I think in the 90s, that term became kind of co-opted to be like, almost like a cute thing. Oh, I'm a sports nerd, or I'm a, whatever nerd. And I'm sure nerds were very offended by like that. They're like, yeah, why don't you try being a real nerd and not having friends, you asshole? But anyways, I'm contextualizing this because my favorite thing about Travis is that you are a nerd.
Yeah.
Now, you're the newer nerd.
Yep.
You're not socially awkward. You get along with people. You can hang out with different people and all this stuff. But you're very meticulous about what it is that you're into.
Yeah.
And very knowledgeable about it. But there is this really curious space with you that kind of teeters back to the old style nerd. And that is that you are a huge Weird Al Yankovic fan. And that is the magic area for me. There's two things. There's another thing we're going to get to, but I want to start with the Weird Al Yankovic thing.
Yeah, well, before we get to Weird Al, I want to kick that back because now you've kicked back twice. So I'm going to kick.
Okay.
And that is, I really am that old nerd, that old school nerd, in that it doesn't come off this way, but I don't like talking to people.
You do it really well,
really
though.
Anxious in crowds. Like, I don't, like, the people that are close to me know this about me. Like, I don't want to be around lots of people. I do it well. I've trained myself, and I've got a lot of media training and all of those things. Like, I can handle it and do it, but it's not like a comfortable situation for me. My social battery drains really, really quickly. But I can put myself in the right spot to be there and be with those people for those times. I just have to prepare myself for those. So there is that. So like that helps with the that old school nerdism.
Yeah.
But the Weird Al Yankovic, like, I wish that he was still producing like a lot of music. I think that he timed out too early, and like he's still around, and I love that. And he's like not around like he's not dead, but like you see him every once in a while doing stuff, and I wish there was more of it. In fact, his movie career was probably more prolific than his music career. There's a title called UHF.
Yes.
It's a wonderful movie.
You remember
it's a
that?
film that you've seen this film.
Yes.
I can't believe that it didn't win Cannes. Like, that is a masterpiece in the film industry. But I started listening to Weird Al when I was young. I begged my parents to let me go to a concert he was playing at, some nearby pavilion or something. I don't know. And they wouldn't let that be my first concert. In fact, I'd never been to a Weird Al concert. So if he gets back on tour, maybe I can go.
Let's get something going at Rollertown. We got a stage over there. Travis Frederick presents Weird Al.
I loved his humor and like the parody. I just thought it was so funny.
Here's why I like this so much personally. Because Ben will tell you, of our friend group, I was far and away the nerdiest guy.
Sure.
And when I was growing up, there was a syndicated radio show called Dr. Demento. And it was, he would play parody songs.
Yep.
So here in Dallas, it was on at a station. I believe it was on the Zoo, if I remember correctly, on Sunday nights. And that's where I first heard Weird Al. And it was like the Kinks song Lola, but he did Yoda, and another one Rides the Bus instead of another one Bites the Dust. And so you can imagine as a 10 or 11-year-old, I thought this was the most amazing thing ever.
Awesome.
At the same time, I was also playing Dungeons and Dragons, a role-playing game. Now, neither one of those things are going to help you with girls in 1981 or whatever.
No.
And so I turned my back on those things, as I got into junior high and was playing basketball. I was like, well, I can't let anybody know I'm into this stuff or whatever. And then here we are, fast forward 30 years, and we meet one of the great NFL centers, and his favorite things are Weird Al Yankovic and Dungeons and Dragons. And I was like, this is just amazing to me that this guy is into this stuff.
Yeah.
And you turned Dungeons and Dragons into a mini empire for yourself.
Yeah. I have loved those things, and it's funny you say like that was about the age that I got into it. There was a new album out called Running with Scissors. That was the jam back then. But and I started playing games about that time too, playing role-playing games. We started not necessarily in Dungeons and Dragons, but the maker of Dungeons and Dragons at the time, 3.5 was the edition, made a Star Wars variant of this. So if we layer on another layer of nerdism, it's an early Star Wars thing. And so we started playing a Star Wars role-playing game, and I just fell in love with the combination of getting to role play as somebody else in a different place and just like think about it. There's like this weird stimulation for me that when you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes and just imagine all of the situations and how you would think and how other people would think of you, and like, I don't know, there's some like weird spin in my head. So I loved doing that. And there was math, and math rocks. You throw them on and then you add them together and you add other things to them, and you can do things with certain, feats or like abilities in the game that make you better at one thing or another. I just loved the crunch in there and being able to do that. I enjoy the role playing part of it, like where you talk and you work through a situation. But to me, that the crunch and just like being able to imagine situations is what I loved. And so we started playing those games, and we would have weekends where we'd stay up all night and do it. And frankly, still as an adult, my partner who I started demi-playing with, like still for his birthday, his goal every year is to get us to a cabin where we spend the whole weekend playing. Wow. So just like when we were kids,
awesome.
We might drink beer instead of soda, right. but it's the same thing. And so I really enjoyed playing those games, and that's part of the reason why I started demi-playing with him, was that we wanted to be able to make it easier to play these games so that more people could do that and enjoy it, because there's so many, there's so many awesome parts of it that make it really fun, but two, in today's day and age with the barriers in social interactions, like that is a game that has to be done socially. You can do it over the internet, you can do it at a distance, but what it teaches is empathy. You actually have to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and like understand what's going on. And if you can do that when you're role playing, and you're role playing, I was a Rodian gunslinger at one point, which is kind of like the Greedo, the guy that Han Solo sees in the bar in the cantina. So I was like one of those. So like you put yourself in those shoes. But then in real life, when you're actually talking to somebody and you can say, okay, on the other side of this couch is somebody's got a family that's got other things going on in their life. Like, it's not just this moment that we're living in. There's so much more that makes up that person. How their reactions are to my conversation is going to be based on all of that history. And I just think that that's something that has been lost a lot, because there's not as much conversation about those things. And so even just knowing that it exists is such a huge deal. And so anyway, I try and help younger people learn to play these games, because I think it's really good for our culture.
All right, so I want to wrap on this. You mentioned beer. You might go drink beer if you're at a cabin. We asked you on the show one time in a setting, how many beers could you drink? And I want to circle back on that, because you've also told me before stories, legendary tales, and I think it's tradition at Wisconsin, the offensive linemen going and drinking together at certain things. And Wisconsin is it's
a beer state, dude.
It's a beer state.
It's a beer state.
It's a beer state. And so if you want to tell us a little bit about the history of that, that's fine too. But I do want to ultimately find out, if you're in a perfectly responsible setting, you're not driving, you're not doing anything like that, but you're sitting down and you're drinking, let's call it Rollertown Lights. Yeah. All right, it's just a light, crushable lager.
Delicious.
Oh, so good.
How many in any amount of time, but the amount of time for one drinking session, if you were to sit down, how many Rollertown Lights could you drink before you're just like falling asleep on the couch?
Well, first of all, you went off the edge there when you said about falling asleep on the couch, because if we were sitting here right now and you guys just started talking away, I would fall asleep in this chair.
Okay.
I'll always fall asleep.
Before
it depends on what else is going on, but if we were like having an active conversation and doing things, as far as like just passing out, it's a number that is pretty large. I really enjoy drinking beer, and I'm a bigger person, so I can I have a larger stomach, perhaps, to be able to consume the liquids. I do have a tiny little bladder, though, so I'd have to pee 1,000 times.
I'm peeing right now.
I would say, I think on air we went with 35. I think I started with...
You were about to say more. He was going to say more.
He was going to say more.
But I was a rookie on a radio show. I didn't know what the appropriate number was. So that tells you a little something about Wisconsin, is that I thought 35 was an appropriate number to share my rookie year as a responsible thing. I mean, I certainly think you could get into the 40s. Because you have a long session. That's the thing is... at 2:00, you're it's a Saturday, there's a football game on, perhaps you're sitting around with your friends and you just start working at it, and you're 4, 6, 8 beers an hour for a few hours. I mean, I think you get into the 40s pretty quickly.
Yeah. You also have the ability to shotgun a beer very quickly. No one can beat you in that, right?
That is a talent that I do have.
We so when Romo played for the Mavericks that one game, the Beal family gave their suite access, and so Jason Garrett was there, and all you guys were back there, and because I was on Mav duty, I got to go back there, and I'm standing there with Travis and an unnamed player because I don't want to blow up his spot. And we're like, all right, we're all going to shotgun a beer. because then I was like, I can hang here. And I actually beat the other guy.
Yep.
But I swear I had barely popped the top in Travis. I mean, it was the craziest. Can you still do it that? Because you were a player at that time.
I can, yeah. I, not that we would, wager money, but like, just like bragging rights and things like that. I have won many bragging rights due to that skill. And sometimes, depending on who the person is, like against Ben, I absolutely would do it. I would offer a 2-to-1. Where I would do 2 in the time that he would do 1. Now it's easier out of an open cup, like an open glass, like a red Solo cup, than out of the shotgun itself. Some people are better with the funnel or the shotgun. But
that's amazing.
Is where
it's amazing. I was reminded of something while you were talking there. The last time I saw you, we were at Rollertown. I think you and I both sat in a chair together. Think about that.
It was a giant chair.
That's a large chair.
We were huge kind of chair. More than anything else.
It was huge. Somebody brought a circus level chair. But then that reminded me of, you were talking about Weird Al earlier. This is another thing you're into. This is maybe
not sitting in large chairs with large men.
Yeah. This is maybe one of the low moments in Rollertown's history where you got in charge of the music and you started playing deep cuts from Meatloaf.
I do love Meatloaf.
You're such a nerd. You're such a nerd. Meatloaf is from here, right?
Yes.
Or was.
Yes.
He passed away. Rest in peace.
Meatloaf is an influence from my mother.
Yeah.
My mom used to play it in the car. We had this blue Chevy Impala. And when my mom was driving, we were listening to Meatloaf. She also really liked Supertramp, but we listened to more Meatloaf.
Oh, I love Supertramp.
And it got into a weird stage because we were like, you've had young kids, so you can listen to music that makes sense to you and not them for some period of time, and then all of a sudden it's inappropriate, and then again you get to the other side and you're like, okay, well, we don't talk about these things at school, but and I remember my mom tells a story about how my older brother, who was really into baseball, started asking questions about Paradise by the Dashboard Lights and why there was baseball announcing and what that was meaning. Like, why were we talking about this? And so Meatloaf went away for a while at that point, but Meatloaf came back. But I mean, it was just one of those things that, as far back as I can remember, when you're in the car, you listen to Meatloaf. Bat Out of Hell, like that's what you did.
Have you ever seen Fight Club?
Yes, I love Fight Club.
And Meatloaf is so great in it.
Yes.
I do have something. As I was leaving the house this morning, so this will tell you just how disorganized I am. Okay. My wife was like, I was like, what are you doing today? Well, we're going to Haymaker. Travis is in town and we're going to do a video with him. She goes, oh, so you can finally give him this.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God, I forgot it existed. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I remember that there's something you're supposed to give me, but I don't remember now at this point.
And this is pre-pandemic. This is how long ago. We're in 2025 now. This is 5 or 6 years ago. We were shopping over by the house, and we went into the shop, and they had different unique gifts, almost like an airport where those style of gifts, but it was cooler than that. And I'm looking, and there's a sweatshirt, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to get this for Travis. I'll give it to him for Christmas. And I just forgot. And then I forgot, and then I forgot, and then I forgot. So here we are, 6 or 7 years later.
You have it.
Oh, he's got it.
My wife reminded me, and I go, do you know where it is? She goes, yeah. And she went to our storage closet and dug it out. And she's been effing with me about this. And the joke is, oh, let me guess, you're going to give Travis that sweatshirt, right? So what I want you to see is, I hope the size fits, but this was bought for you in maybe 2019. I'm not 100% sure.
Wow.
Look at that.
Look at that.
This is, look at it's got the, what is this?
I don't know. I don't speak that language, whatever it is.
Dungeons and Dragons. This is, I think this is the imagery from the first edition too.
Oh, is that right?
I think it is. Yes, that is.
That's awesome.
Something.
And that's the original logo, the font on the original logo. I remember that so well. Because I had all the manuals. I had the Monsters Guide and all that stuff, and so they'd have that. But I saw that in a gift shop in Allen, and I got it for you, and then forgot for 7 years.
I have a hat just like this with the horns. Thank you. This means way more now than it would have at the moment because you've held on to it for 7 years.
It's like wine.
Every time I don't see your wife very often. In fact, I think we were like probably 8 years into our relationship before I actually met your wife. And every time you talk about her, this comes up. It's like it continually.
She probably rolls her eyes.
I know. Like now there's going to be a spot in your storage closet that's open, and I hope that every time you see that, you still think of me.
We will. Well, I'll actually just put a picture of you there. So there you go. I mean, that's very
great.
stylish for this year. I know you're going to wear that a lot.
But you know what? I love sweaters, specifically around Christmas time more than anything else. I love Christmas sweaters, but this fits in that category. I think.
Consider that a gift from my wife.
I love that. Tell her I say thank you. Thank you, sir. Yeah. That is amazing.
Well, dude, we love you. We're grateful for the friendship. We're so proud to be partnering with you on Rollertown, and we're so grateful that you're the second interview we've ever done at Haymaker. Came in second to Dirk, just like you did in the white guy bracket, but still second. Pretty good.
Not bad. Dirk is a good guy to be second to. No, I appreciate you having me, and you know I love spending time with you guys, and I wish that we could do more of it. Those things called miles that end up between us is never fun, but I'm glad that we stay connected and have built this friendship and relationship, and Rollertown is just another way that we can stay connected and stay together, and I just love doing that with y'all.
We love you. That was the beauty of Rollertown. It was a way for all of us to get together and imbibe, and we're still doing it.
Yep.
Let's just end this.
Yeah, let's end it.
All right.
Oh, man, this is where Travis Frederick autographed this. Amazing. Oh, sorry, you guys caught me just enjoying the Travis Frederick interview. I hope you guys dug that very much. I hope you're enjoying the Haymaker Network. Get out there and tell your friends about it. This is like the newest thing in DFW sports. We call it a Metroplex sports party, and we're glad to have you here. Till next time, peace out.